Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sam. So before I start with this video, I just want to let you guys know that Geo did drop her image teasers, first set of image teasers for her solo debut, Zone, just this morning. I wanted to wait a little bit before doing a video on them because just 4 photos so far. So tomorrow we'll get a video about half of the teasers. But with that said, let's get into this video. So I'm wearing all of the lanyards from the stops of the North American tour for Ready to Be. I'm going to take them off now because they're kind of uncomfortable, but just wanted to flex a little bit that I did go to all the stops, and that's what this video is all about. If you guys haven't checked it out already, I did vlog my entire trip. That's all 13 concerts throughout America and Canada. So yeah, you'll see how I did. But in that video, I also left a comment saying that I would do a Q&A, and here it is. In addition to the Q&A though, I just want to go over some of my tips. I know I did tip videos before during the tour, but just to recap in case any of you guys didn't see that, you're planning to go on a future tour, something like that. I just want to mention my thoughts on that first, okay? So first off, I think the tour was amazing. The girls did so well. One major thing I want to point out, and I did mention this during the recap of my vlog as well, was that it was a long tour. It was like almost, I think it was more than a month long. And even though I did LA, then came back home, then Oakland, then I was home during that. Seattle, went home, and then went on the rest of the tour. I was exhausted by the end of it. Like, I didn't even perform, honestly. I just went and had like a vacation. But just not being home, being at the concerts in the heat, waiting in line sometimes, took a lot out of me, and kind of why I didn't do a video till now. I had to catch up with life, get readjusted, just feel better. And it took me like almost a month to adjust, which, a lot of it is, catching up on work too. But yeah, it took a toll. And I'm glad a lot of members are getting like some rest right now. Of course, they still have to work with photo shoots and whatnot. But yeah, Nisamo, they're working so hard right now. I can't believe that they're just like, from the tour straight to promotions for their debut. So lots of respect. And of course, Geo as well, prepping for her debut. It's wild. And so much like props to them. I think it shouldn't, can never be stressed enough how hard they work. And they're continuing to work just to put on shows for fans. And the fact that they're starting again in September is just wild. So everyone who's going to the stops in Europe and Southeast Asia, make sure to cheer extra loud for them. And I'm excited for you guys to see the tour, this concert as well. All right, so again, one big piece of advice that I want to give everyone, and of course, I think you should take this with a grain of salt and do some research ahead of time, with your local rules. But for the US and Canada stops, you don't really need to get there that early. If you're, not VIP, get there like 30 minutes before the doors open, right? And if you're VIP, there's like a sound check time. They send emails saying you should get here, during this time, whatnot. I think it's just to like make sure you're there and to, prevent you from being late based on traffic. But the doors, like, they really don't open until like an hour before that sound check time. And sound check has never gone early. It's only started late or on time. So I saw people, or I heard people get there like 5 hours in advance and wait in the sun because some venues didn't have any shade. Some venues were like 100 degrees outside. So I would say don't get there too early because you're gonna be standing in line, like getting a tan, maybe a sunburn if you didn't bring enough sunscreen. So that's one point of advice I would like to give, because I always got there like, an hour before that sound check time. And even though it was later than, their warning time, I think they're like, get there by 2:30, sound check's at 5:30. So I got there at like 4:30 multiple times and there were no issues. Like I said, maybe don't take my word for it only, check your venue rules, but every single stop, all 13 concerts, and it was like 9 cities, they were all, it was all okay to get there like an hour before sound check time. So I just wanted to stress that a lot because people were freaking out. And if you're worried about merch, Yeah, merch lines were long in some of the stops. I think Seattle, the line was the longest. Um, but there was also the pre-sale day. So you could always just buy during the pre-sale day and don't worry about it during the concert day. That's my advice. All right, now to the Q&A. First question I want to answer is someone asked me how much I spent on the entire trip. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't really track it too much. Of course, I made sure I was able to afford it. But, I would say it's somewhere in the ballpark of $10,000. I know it sounds like a lot. There were multiple flights. I stayed in hotels a couple times. Not all the time. I had a couple Airbnbs and also stayed at family for one of the stops. And, it is a bit more than I spent on the last tour. But there were more stops this time and more concerts. And it was like 1.5 times the length, I feel, in terms of like total days. So yeah, I think that's an accurate number, ballpark estimate. And I think it was pretty worth it because, it was pretty much an entire cross-country trip, almost a month. Almost a month because I came back, but the whole trip was actually more than a month. But some days I was home. So sorry to be a little long-winded, but yeah, that's about the price, I'd say. And somewhat related to the last question, a couple of you guys asked me what I do for work. And I feel like I've talked about this a lot on my channel throughout the years, but for everyone who's new, I am an attorney. So yeah, actually went to law school, as twice debuted and stuff. So I'm an attorney now, and yeah, that's how I can afford the trip. All right, so the next question is a bit of a two-parter, so I'll try to answer the best I can. First part is, what was my favorite concert? And you know what? I can't really say because they're all unique in their own way, and I don't want to make anyone mad. But I'll say, I think my best view was probably Chicago, I think. I'll just say that. And then part two was, what moments did I anticipate every concert despite going to all 13? And I'm gonna gush a bit, and I will say there are quite a bit. But the ones that really stood out to me personally, Nayeon's pop stage. So, if you guys watch the stages, she starts lights off, already kneeling, and then the song starts, the turnaround. That's always super exciting. And then the dance break, my favorite dance break, I think. And I think Nayeon even addressed it. People cheer extra loud during that because she does an amazing job every single time. The charisma off the charts. I'm a little disappointed she didn't do the whole song, but because it had to fit all 9 solos in there, I know it's hard on time, but yeah, pop every time. I'm excited. And then also for the highlight medley during Cheer Up, during Likey, during Heartshaker, there's parts that are different depending on the stage. So who does the dance break, who does the Shy 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 choreography, and Nayeon and Sana's interaction at the end of Heartshaker. Those are always different, so I always anticipate those as well. And then one of my favorite songs of all time, Talk That Talk, always hits. It's the last full stage outfit stage, the last song before the encore, and the dance break is phenomenal. And I can go on and on and on, but those are the top 3 for me. But yeah, there's so many parts that I always anticipate every concert. All right, the next question is a 4-parter, so I'll just answer what I can. The first part is if I had any issues with the candy bong at the airport. Actually, 0 problems at all. I remember once I had an issue in Japan, but then they saw what it was and let me through. But it did get caught in the security x-ray thing. But in the US, 0 times. At one point I even had 2 on me because one of my candy bongs stopped sinking, so I had to buy a second one. But yeah, never any issues at all at the airport. All right, then ranking the seats. I can't really give a ranking. Like I said, I think my best seats were in Chicago, but they're pretty close to some of the other seats. One seat I had actually in Toronto was a side of the extended stage, and that was really cool. Then my only main stage seat in the US or the North America tour was in Oakland. Thank you, Justin. Shout out there for getting me that ticket. But yeah, they're all different, I'd say. Can't really rank them. So yeah, sorry, I can't really answer that. And then future shows, I don't think so. just because I didn't get tickets originally for ticketing. Wasn't planning to. It's, like I said, I spent a lot on this trip, the North America trip, so kind of got to start saving money now for other expenses and potential US encore. I think I've prioritized American concerts just because, you know, it's my home country and easier for me to travel. That and work. So I currently don't have any plans to go to the UK or France or Germany because this person asked specifically for the Europe stops. So I don't think so. And that's the same for actually the other stops, including like Southeast Asia and Japan. Just because, you know, mix of things, finances, time off, and then, yeah, I guess those factoring in, there might be additional US stops, just like last year with the encore. So yeah, hope that answers your question. The answer is no current plans. Oh, so I guess that last response answered the two-parter of that fourth part of the question, third and fourth parts. The next question is it worth getting floor seats if you're short? So in my personal experience, well, I wouldn't say I'm tall. I wouldn't say I'm short either. I'd say I'm pretty average height, leaning on, you know, slightly above average. But yeah, I didn't have any personal issues with seeing. So for context, in the US, even though it's like floor seated, everyone stands just at your seat. So it's essentially standing, but you're kind of in your assigned area. So I guess that's the issue. If you're short, you're having you know, worries about whether or not the person in front of you will block you, and you can't really move out of the way. So I will say I did have a little bit of an issue during like one of the concerts. I think it was like Houston Day 1, where the person in front of me was kind of, you know, quite tall, but you just like have to, you know, maneuver and kind of look past them. And so I guess if you're really short, then it might be an issue. I have a friend who's under 5 feet, and she had issues seeing for a lot of concerts, but for twice she had pretty good seats. And I think when she was row 2, she didn't have an issue. But again, when you're row 2, row 1 kind of moves to the barricades, you have, you know, more space. So yeah, kind of, I guess if you're really short, depending on your height, you might have issues with the floor. But with that said, you can just go to the 100 section, the more seated, you know, upper sections. They have the more decline seating, so it's easier to see. And actually, for most venues, the 100 section view is really good. So, you know, it's almost comparable to the floor in terms of like being close to the stage. So I maybe would advise looking into that. So I would say, yeah, depending on your height, there might be some issues with the floor. So I think the last question that I got in the thread that I posted in the vlog for questions is this two-parter. First part is, what was my favorite concert? Again, I can't really pick. Also, I don't want to offend anyone. But yeah, it's hard. I think I was definitely hyped during Nayeon's pop anniversary, the stage in Houston. But I think that Houston view was one of my worst. So I don't know, I can't really say it's my favorite because personally didn't have the best view, but yeah, they're all unique in their own way. So can't really say, but I will say, actually I'm gonna pick now, Atlanta has a special place in my heart. My seat wasn't the best for that, but that encore, you know, luckily no one got sick, at least none of the members got sick, but the reigning encore, super special. First time in, you know, what, 7-8 years being seeing a rainy concert live. I know they've had it in Japan before, but I wasn't there. So seeing like the rainy stage, it was a unique experience for sure. And the second part about a community. So I'm sure, well, I know there's like a Discord somewhere, like a public one, and I think a subreddit, but I'm not really part of either of those. Instead, I just have a small group of friends that I've made throughout the years as a once, meeting, you know, the mutual friends, at concerts, etc. So it's a small group of us. We have a private Discord, not too many of us at all actually. And last tour, we did most of the tour together, but this time, since it was longer, more cities, you know, more time, and less people had remote work, it was a little harder. So there were no stops where I was completely alone, like didn't know anyone at the concert at all. I had a, you know, good friend with me at every stop, but this time was a little more, you know, friends came in and out, went to stops they could, kind of thing. I did have a couple friends who went with like more than half of the concerts, but yeah, actually not really sure that answered that part of the question. But you know, short and sweet answer. There are communities. I'm not part of them, but I'm sure it'll be easy to join and, you know, make friends with other onces. And I did see a lot of people, a lot of familiar faces at multiple stops. And I just, from talking to like friends and friends of friends, I know a lot of people did all the stops, and it wasn't just me. So yeah, quite a few people did go to every single stop that I know of. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll just like, you know, comment and respond to them. But yeah, it was really fun. I know I said this last time, but this might be the last time that I go to every stop, just because, you know, like I said just now, remote work is becoming more rare. Right now, my work is still mostly remote. I have to go to court sometimes and into the office sometimes, but I was able to, you know, do this entire trip and work in the mornings and on weekends when there was no concert. So I'm not sure that I can do this again, which is why I kind of went all out this time. But yeah, that's about it. Again, let me know what you think. If you haven't checked out the vlog yet, make sure to do that. It was really fun to make. So if you enjoy, you know, my vlog videos, that's definitely one of the favorite ones I've ever made. Fan cams I posted for each concert, so make sure to check that out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.